Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I just want to talk about slowing down. Now, I say this a million times in multiple segments. Cybersecurity is agnostic to politics, but we're not immune from it. And I like to think I kind of live my life that way. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is we've all heard or seen some of that footage that's coming out of Minneapolis today. Basically, it's the recent shooting of ICE. Now, I want to be very clear here. I am not here to adjudicate that incident or the particulars of it. Specifically, I am not. What I am adjudicating is that we, just in general in society, seem to be at a point where we are instantly making conclusions without having a full and thorough investigation that essentially covers all bases. Just watching a video, and from what I understand, there are multiple videos of that. I've seen one of the many. Just watching a video should not simply suffice to make judgment. I don't think that that should be the case. So, today I want to talk about why slowing down matters after an incident. And I've been giving this a lot of thought today. And I think it's important. And I think we need to discuss it because I think any death is a tragedy, in this sense, especially one that's cut short. So, I want to say first that this applies to any incident. As you know, I'm in cybersecurity. And so if I am rushing to judgment in a cybersecurity incident, we have problems with that. Early indicators, maybe false positives. We might misattribute basically the threat actors, to one group versus another. We might misunderstand the scope of the actual infection or attack. And it's the same with violent crimes like a homicide or a potential homicide, right? There are witness statements, there are timelines, there are motives that have been revised, and on and on and on. And so that's the point here. And so I want to talk about a couple of different things about slowing down. And the first one I want to talk about is the benefits of waiting for complete information. Because as I see it, basically, if we are slowing down and waiting for complete information, we have better decision making. Our responses would be more proportional based on the facts. They'd be targeted, they'd be a lot more defensible than what we see of just simply saying, "Oh, this happened. No, this happened. No, this happened. No, you idiot," et cetera, et cetera. On top of it, it's reduced reputational harm, right? We could potentially avoid public retractions, contradictory statements, and all of that if we simply gather all the facts and come to a logical, most probable conclusion, if not 100% conclusion, right? Then there's obviously the integrity that goes around the legal and investigative process, right? This prevents speculation from contaminating investigations. And right now, that's what we're doing oftentimes. And again, I have eyeballs. I've seen the videos too, but this is an important moment, and it's an important moment in society, and it's an important moment, I think, for all of us, in this vein, because the other side of this is clear accountability. If we have all of those facts, if we wait for the best information, because that essentially ensures responsibility is assigned based on evidence, not on assumptions. And that's something that we just seem to be missing as we are just quickly, rapidly firing out on whatever social media platform, like X, for example, our thoughts and then getting into fights. There is a risk of real time unvetted information. This is something I've talked about before. Disinformation spreads faster and farther than facts, especially during a high visibility incident. And if you're talking about like the live streams and the social media platforms like X, like I just mentioned, X is a great example of that because it amplifies things like rumors, partial truths, misleading visuals without context. Grok now is just pumping out image after image. Like half my X feed is hey Grok, do this, with some image. On top of it, it could be deliberate manipulation and coordinated narratives, all of those kinds of things. Speed over accuracy is an issue here. Engagement incentives reward immediacy, not correctness. And that's a huge problem. And as somebody that has written professionally for years, I have editors. When I go to publish on platforms that I've historically published on, like Forbes, for example, I have to get through editors. They have to vet my work. There has to be accuracy there, a fact check. And there is value of vetted news and trusted sources. To my point, editorial standards are beyond critical. Fact checking, source validation, corrections, all those kinds of things. We're not going to get it 100% right. And when we don't, there should be a correction. But the problem that we have is the same with disinformation. Once it gets out there and it confirms your bias on something, and you think, oh my God, X happened when maybe it was Y, it's very hard to get the memo when the facts come out to say X actually didn't happen, Y did. We have to have that understanding. On top of it, there is the benefit of context and expertise. Information framed by subject matter professionals is much better than somebody just flying off the handle with a bias on one side of the political spectrum or the other. On top of it, there's better accountability when we have vetted information, right? Reputable outlets are transparent about both errors and also updates about that, and historically have been. On top of it, it's signal over noise. And that's like the best way that I can think about it as I've just was piecing everything together today, because signal over noise, it helps distinguish confirmed facts from speculation. And we've seen a ton of it. Even in hurricanes, you see like the images of that like poor little girl holding the puppy. It didn't happen, you know? There's also a strategic advantage to having patience, especially in situations like this, because it lends credibility. Leaders and organizations that wait for facts become more trusted over time, as opposed to immediately coming out and saying, this is what happened. On top of it, there's a consistency factor, which helps build trust. Fewer reversals and clearer messaging is the name of the game, because if you are consistent and you're slow and you have more facts and they're vetted, you're going to have a clear message. You're going to be less prone to have to offer retractions. And on top of it, we have the long term impact of this, right? Sound judgment outlasts viral narratives. In other words, you're on the right side of history or you're on the wrong side of history. You may not necessarily be on the losing side or the winning side, but you could be on the wrong side or the right side. And slowing down and understanding those facts helps you to frame it with better longevity. So, whether it's responding to like a breach, like a cybersecurity incident or a homicide or a murder or a shooting or whatever kind of incident it is, the discipline, in my opinion, should be the same. Slow down, verify, verify fully what happened before and after. I saw a 38-second clip and it was horrific. But what happened the minute before? What happened after? These are questions that I would have, that investigators would have. Verify this. Separate facts from the noise that just immediately starts flying around these days. And in the age of instant information, restraint is not weakness, it's professional judgment. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at Nick AES. Well, actually, you know what? I don't even want to do my exit. Just be kind to each other. Slow down. That's all I've really got to say.